welcome back to yet another Creative in Focus. And today, guys, we are having for the first time ever a very special guest. And some of you who's in the photography industry, there you know him by this very special name called Happy Fingers. And those of you who don't know him as well, you gotta be like really gotta check him out. Like all social media platform will be in the description, will be in the link description below. And first time ever, I'm gonna be introducing guys. Gentlemen, Happy Fingers. Say hi, Fingers. I mean, sorry, Happy.
Hello, hi everybody. Thank you
Sorry,
for
I need to
having
call
me.
you Don because Happy Fingers it's stuck, but then I'm trying to call your
It's
real name.
it's okay. You can call me Don. It's okay.
So, all right, Don. Okay, so those of you who not know him, he goes by his real name is Don, but his Instagram social media name is called Happy Fingers. So, Don, can you give a small introduction of yourself for those of you like didn't know who you are?
Sure. So yes, my name is Don, but on my online platforms, I go by the name of Happy Fingers. It's often the most asked question, why Happy Fingers? It's
Yeah,
because
we will get into that
back in
later.
the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do portraits. I do portraits mostly as my passion project on social media. But on the side, I do a variety of different styles of photography as well. I am in the advertising industry, and I also have interests in the physical space. So I try to segment my interests in terms of labels. So, for example, my name is Happy Fingers. My jump rope / fitness pursuits are in Happy Fingers Jumps. For travel, it's Happy Fingers Travels, etc. So yeah, so I'm a portraitist. I also play music. I sing every now and then. And yeah, I in terms of bread and butter, I am in the advertising world. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So basically, like you're a multi-talented person. Like do travel, do music, do singing, and do photos.
I try to do a variety of things. Yes.
All right. So the question I want to be asking, and I bet that most of the persons who are watching this video is actually going to be asking, is that why Happy Fingers?
Okay, so the short answer there is I just want to make happy things happen with my fingers. A musician friend of mine, Ian Tai, he said that people who do things with their fingers go far in life. So I just stuck with that definition. But okay, the real story is I've been using that nickname for more than 10 years now. I don't know if you recall, but back in 2007, 2008, there was a game, online game called O2 Jam. It's basically like Dance Dance Revolution, but using your keyboard.
Okay.
So I had to think of an alias for my avatar. So I figured Happy Fingers, maybe that can be used. So and then I eventually used it. And toward a few months later, when I started performing in college, I also needed a stage name. So Happy Fingers, since I played guitar and I sang, and that stuck. Eventually, much later, when I started to think of a name for my Facebook page, because back then Instagram wasn't a thing yet. All your online content, you would try to make use and post on your Facebook page. And instead of using my real name or some cliched photography inspired name like Shutter
Don
Clicker
photographer,
Photography,
Don
I
photographer.
just felt that it just wasn't me. So
Mhm.
I figured, well, maybe since Happy Fingers, it kind of made sense. So that's how Happy Fingers photography came about. And eventually, when I started building relationships with clients, with models, they would often ask the whole Happy Fingers thing, which made me realize that, oh, okay, the name kind of rings a bell. It's a pretty sticky name, and in whenever you craft a name or an identity for yourself, you want it to be something that people can remember. So very early on, I realized, okay, Happy Fingers can work, and I've stuck with it. Eventually, in all of my handles, I used Happy Fingers moving forward.
All right, great. That's a nice story. Happy Fingers all started from right now a game character name. So that's okay. That's finally you answered the question that me personally, I've been like wondering why Happy Fingers. All right. So you say that you've been in the bread and butter. You are doing advertisement and so on, so on,
Yes.
right? So then you do photography as a passion project, right?
Mm.
So let me
That
ask
that's
you.
correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question: like, why did you start doing photography in the first place?
Hmm. I always had the interest ever since I was in college, but because my family wasn't really well off back then, I didn't have the resources to buy my own camera. So I would always imagine myself, in my surroundings, looking at trees or rocks and telling myself, "Oh, it would be nice to take pictures of these things." Eventually, when I started working in advertising, I was 2 years into my, I'd say, career, and I, if anyone who's in the advertising or creative industry would know that the first 3 years of your career would be the heaviest, most hard hitting. You
True.
spend late nights trying to learn as much as you can and make as many mistakes as you can. So I was in that very stressful period, and I needed an outlet. So I think uh, in 1 year, I think very late 2012, I had a small camera, and I figured maybe I should pick up a new project just to get my mind out of the craziness of advertising. So I started taking pictures of flowers. I think many photographers or photography enthusiasts would start with flowers because flowers are very calming, they're peaceful, and they're varied. So I was very, I was incredibly focused on trying to get a clear picture of the flower as my subject, and then
So,
eventually just having everything blurred out.
so John,
Yeah.
let me cut you there for a moment. So you say you started doing like photos, like shooting flowers and everything, right? So what camera
Mm.
were you using at that moment?
Yeah, my first camera was the granddaddy of all Canon mirrorless cameras, the EOS M. So that
Oh,
was a 2012 release, I think. Yeah.
okay.
So in all aspects, it was essentially a point and shoot with your typical crop sensor. So I eventually learned the technicalities of it later on. But I was like, okay, small camera, can take pictures. Okay, la, can. So I just shoot. I was yeah. Eventually, after about 2 months of doing that, I realized, okay, maybe it's more fun if I take pictures of flowers that could talk. So I started taking photos of my office mates at that time, and it just was so coincidental that some of them were former bloggers or had some blogs on the side that they just needed someone to take content with. So I gladly did that for them. It served as practice for me as well. One shoot led to another and another and another. Eventually, when I saw that I was taking, I had a way of doing things in a pretty consistent way. I figured, okay, uh, I should put all of these photos in a place that isn't my Facebook profile, because my guy friends were starting to wonder, yeah, why are you posting all photos of all these women? And
Okay.
I wasn't so sure. I was pretty insecure at that time. So I created Happyfingers Photography on Facebook. Months later, the momentum built. I started taking in clients. Eventually, it ended up 2014, 2015 came. I collaborated with, I'd say, established models, content creators in the Philippines. And then eventually, when I moved to Malaysia, I started over again. Um, and I just kept building momentum, creating content, collaborating, eventually taking on a variety of clients in different industries. And so far now, I'd say in 2019 and beyond, Happy Fingers isn't so much of the whole stacking the bricks and creating as much content as possible, as it is more about sharing what I've learned over time, helping aspiring content creators along the way. And for that reason, I created the whole Team Happy Fingers thing. It's essentially a small collective of photographers, content creators, models, stylists. Well, we're on WhatsApp right now, but we're pretty closely knit. We help each other out in collaborations way before the pandemic. So it's just that now with everything that's going on, I'm sure all the priorities are toward how can you sustain yourself in such a very
True.
difficult time. So
Yeah.
it's less of
So
content creation, more of sharing knowledge.
yeah. So I'm just to cut you short there. So as I told you, like how to sustain yourself. So I prepared some really good questions that
Sure.
to ask you guys. So like how can a photographer sustain yourself during this pandemic? So but
Hmm.
before we go get into that topic, just want to ask you, like, how do you describe your photography style at this moment compared to the
Hmm.
last time, like when you first
Hmm.
started out?
Sure. Um, I would always describe my work, regardless of when I was beginning, midway through, when was building momentum up until now. It's something that is normal, normal with with a little bit of refinement. I've always focused on crafting portraits of people.
Mhm.
It just so happens that I have a particular skill when it comes to photographing female models. I never run out of ideas when it comes to shooting females in various dimensions. So traditionally, it would be described as editorial lifestyle. I would say that it's normal, largely because I never think that I was born with a photography skill. It was something that I practiced over time, and if someone like me who was stuck with a very time-consuming job could pick it up, then anyone can as well. So I would try to keep it grounded and say that it's something that anyone can do.
Mm. Right, that's good. So I've always been a admirer of your Happy Fingers group. I still remember when I followed you when I was in college. I still remember that moment when I followed you because I was stalking your photography page. Because when I was starting out as a photographer, but then I eventually moved into advertising for more in focus on videos. So
Mm.
same as you, like I do portraits for as fun. So when I was starting out to do like portrait photography, I still remember the day that when I got my first assignment for photography, like my lecturer told me, okay, go find, you can find in Facebook, you can find in Insta. So I was just looking around photography, portraits, photographer. Then I stumbled upon your account, like Happy Fingers. So the first thing that caught into my mind was obviously, okay, I know just saying out of the blue is just okay, there's a lot of girls in the Instagram account. I was like, okay, so then I went through, okay, then I understand, okay, well, this is getting nice, nice. And then only one thing popped into my mind because your photos, I don't know, you feel this way as me and mine as well, but it resembles like minimalism,
Okay.
like minimalism in your portraits. Lah. So
Mm.
I dig into that minimalism kind of vibes. And of course, it was editorial, but I don't know, I had the feeling of, okay, this is very minimalistic and very nice and aesthetic. So I was just like, yeah, let's follow this guy. And at the moment, I just opened my first Instagram account. So you were the one of the few photographers that I still follow until now. Like some photographers, like they kind of lost their touch and then they just stop producing content, like good content, not enough content to like follow and help like learn from them. So you are one of the few photographers I still follow like from the day one
Mm.
that I start doing this photography.
That's very nice to hear. Thank you very much. Yeah. In terms of minimalism, I get why you're saying it, and I suppose in retrospect, because there are certain elements that I would like to keep whenever I craft my work. I like keep things simple. In many cases, it just features a white background, such as what you will see
Yeah,
you see over here.
yeah,
Yeah, and the story is told from the perspective of the person I'm photographing. So whatever they want to bring to the shoot, of course, with some minimal, oh, okay, minimal guidance from my side, tells a unique story. So I'm not so for a time for most of my I'd say my time as Happy Fingers, I was not so drawn to overly done makeup and overly done retouching. My aspiration was to craft something that anyone can do with a bit of planning. So
okay, cool. All right, so that's it, guys. That's for like a small introduction on Happy Fingers and how we got started. So before let's do that, we got into the topic of this podcast is that of course currently right now everybody knows that we are going through a very serious pandemic which is COVID-19, and the effect is like going around for every people, even in every market. And like I just want to ask you yet from your own opinion, like do you think that this pandemic has affected the creative industry?
oh, 100%, yes, and not just the creative industry, all over, all across every industry that requires human interaction. Everyone took a hit. Reeling it back to the creative space, our industry requires a lot of interaction, production. and brainstorming and creating with multiple people in one setting. And unfortunately, because of social distancing and the necessary sensitivities and requirements for that, a lot of productions, a lot of creative productions have been put on hold.
Yeah,
And
like for
actually,
example, all the movies got postponed to like the next year, and who else
yes, yes. So
release?
that's absolutely right. Yeah, and there's a reason why. If you look at the banking industry in particular, there's a reason why they defer loans, for example, to 6 months from now, because that's how long they foresee this whole situation to be. It's not just the length of the MCO or whatever the prime minister would say.
Mm-hmm.
It will hit us for at least 6 months, if not more.
True.
Therefore, I'd say it's going to be an incredibly difficult time for fellow creatives to monetize our efforts if we do not adapt to the nature and the the limitations of the times.
Mm. All right. So that being said, right. So can you just share with me, like, from your own perspective, that what should photographers who are actually making a living from doing photography, taking photos, should be doing at
Mm.
this moment to land clients?
Mm.
Yeah.
To land clients. To
Yep.
land clients. Okay. Okay. First, in terms of go back to your basics first. Well, you need to mitigate as many expenses as possible, right? That because that way, you less money going out works to your advantage.
Mhm.
In terms of landing clients, it's a tricky question to answer. You need to reflect on what kind of content you've been creating over the past 6 months or a year of your pursuit. If it's portraits, and I'm sure everyone needs to sell something during this situation, you'll need to be able to establish proof of success that even with this pandemic, you can still create content. Okay, so that's the first step. Establishing that you can still create, you can still produce, even with the limitations of social distancing or limitations of production related endeavors. Okay, that's the first step. Second, in terms of uh, finding the clients themselves, at it's very easy to say that in this pandemic, okay, no one, everyone's keeping their resources to themselves. It's true. It's that's definitely not wrong. But businesses still need to sustain themselves. Businesses still need to move forward. So it's just a matter of, to me, it's a matter of being slightly a little bit more hardworking with using the tools to your advantage to create content and finding entities that still need to sell in this season. Like for example, I'm sure clothing lines would still need to sell. I'm sure food. Let's start with essentials.
Yeah.
Food, essential services. They still need to sell, and they still need to visualize what they need to sell. Right. You also have your slight non-essentials, like for example, your clothing, your outerwear, and you still have all these other entities that have content that need to be deployed 6, 7, 8 months from now, but they're planning for it today. So my advice would be to think, craft a list of these essential services that you feel you can create content for. Once you've identified that, list it down, uh, figure out the how. How am I, as a content creator, able to produce output without breaking the rules of social distancing? And then eventually, you share you work on the content, you work on the pre-production requirements, and then you take it forward from there.
All right, so that's good. So I just want to tackle on the part when you say like people who actually want to do advertisement, to do like they want to be planning
Mm,
earlier so that they're going to be like posting it up in the near future, right? So
mm,
just to clear, so I know that you've been in the advertisement industry, and I've myself have been in the advertisement industry, and usually like let's say we have a project, and then that project will be due on like let's say next year 2021, and then
mm,
the preparation and the content creation and all the shooting will be done like very very early, like 2 or 3 months early, or like even the worst case like 1 year earlier than that. So
mm,
there is a saying that a lot of people out there think that, oh, if they want to do content they want to do it now, so they just like waiting. So photographers who are actually doing like product photography and then doing content for other companies to, you know, post it up in the long run, not looking for the short run. Yep.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So because me myself, I seen one of my friends. He does product photography. He does like attire wear. So what he does is that he still have the client. Thank God, he still have the client. So what he does is that with the product that's going to be soon to be launched, just send them a prototype sample, and then he actually shot it in his own house. So what he did is actually he like dismantled the whole living room and made it into a studio. So it was like a simple DIY studio lah. So that's why most of the photographers think that, okay, I need to get clients now. So what do I do now? So, but they don't understand that most of the clients out there, they are looking for more future way. So they want to do it now. So
Correct.
there's a lot of people there's a lot of demand out there, but just a lot of photographers don't know where is the demand and what to do during the time. All right. So that's a good take on for, you know, landing clients. That's a very good, because some people out there like really panicking right now and don't know what to do. So what is your own opinion on, like, let's say photographers who are actually going through a mental breakdown, like, hey, what am I supposed to do now? Let's just talk about having portrait sessions. So what do you want to say to the photographers who are actually doing portraits and can't even shoot portraits right now?
Okay. First of all, you need to understand that you can still create content even during the the pandemic. It's just a matter of being a little bit more hardworking and creative with the tools that you have. And this is evidenced by content creators who have already been doing such content.
Yeah.
You've seen FaceTime shoots, you've seen screencast shoots where photographers have been pushing the boundaries of what a FaceTime portrait session can do with the model. Actually, okay. Let me clarify. Just because it's called a FaceTime or a quarantine shoot doesn't literally mean you have to do FaceTime or quarantine. What you can, okay, just a tidbit for the photographers. What you can do is tell the model to use her actual camera to take to direct her and direct her in terms of doing the portrait. Not necessarily doing it during the FaceTime session, because of course for quality reasons you can only get as much of a a pixelated screenshot when you do the FaceTime session. So that's one. You can still create. It's just a matter of being clear with directions, being clear with your fellow co-creator on the other side of the spectrum. It's a two-way thing. You need to create with the other person. He or she needs to be on board with what you have in mind. And yeah, just keep pushing, keep hustling. There is no easy way around it. But like I said, with a bit of planning and understanding the tools that you have, you can still put together a shoot that looks aesthetically pleasing, that can that can potentially highlight a brand, and most important of all, make you as a content creator happy. If you're the kind of person who's struggling mentally because you can't create, then the obvious answer is push yourself, create. That way, once you've created something, you get the endorphin high of being able to say to yourself, you know what, I was able to create during this pandemic, I can create again. It will give you that momentum to keep creating, keep creating, keep creating.
Yeah, it's a very good answer, Don. So thank you for that. Of course, that the momentum is super important. Like, once you lose the momentum, it's very hard to get back the momentum. So those are the photographers who are actually watching this. Try to create any certain projects. It doesn't have to be portraits. It can be anything. Just create content out there just to get the momentum up,
Right.
and trying to like push the boundaries and think out of the box. Like the FaceTime shoot, I don't know who created it, the FaceTime shoot, and suddenly it just became like a new thing, a new photography thing already. So who knows, maybe the next time, I don't know, virtual reality, virtual reality for the show or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So moving on to our last question of the podcast. So this is a little bit controversial, and I just want to get your own opinion on this. And just want to say that if you want to say anything related to this is totally transparent, so no need to like point a certain photographer about this. But as a photographer, as a portrait photographer as well, and working with a lot of models, and I believe that you heard this news from models or news from people that some photographers are pretending to be, photographers, are pretending to be
Mm,
portrait photographers or lingerie or
mm,
something, and actually preying on these models. So
mhm.
what's your take on this?
My take in terms of these supposed predatory photographers, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Well, of course, that's definitely something that you shouldn't be doing. If photography, I would, this is something my mom and I crafted back when I was giving advice on Instagram stories. If photography makes you horny, I suggest a different hobby. When you do, you have to treat the craft of portrait photography and give it the respect that it deserves. And you give the models that you work with the due respect that they deserve, that they deserve. If you are laser focused with your objective, your creative objective, if you have one, you should not have any wiggle room to
Yeah.
entertain any untoward thoughts. And for such personalities, and there have been so many, over the past, I'd say 6 or 7 years, even way before social media, this has been a thing. Unfortunately, women get put, women and even males actually get put in a position of disadvantage and are taken advantage of because of the power dynamics that happen during a shoot. When a
Mhm.
content creator puts a model, male or female, but more often than not female, in a position of vulnerability, then certain gestures are being done that are definitely not acceptable. I do not condone such activities. I would always say during my workshops or whenever I give advice uh, to photographers, if you are focused with your objective, you will do this shoot as efficiently and as simply as you can without any bad vibes, because any female model with a good head on her shoulders will smell a photographer from a mile away.
Sure.
And you should always be consistent with your words and with how you conduct yourself before, during, and after a shoot. Because if you're planning on doing something funny, even before the shoot, memang the model will already know. So, you know, you don't think that you can ever get away with these things. People find out. People always find out.
Yep.
So it should never be something that it's in your to-do list during a shoot.
Yeah. So I'm saying about like the models always know, like if certain photographers are kind of fishy, have a different objective in their mind, and
Mm,
okay, this is, we can put this in a one way, like protecting the models and saying that, okay, this guy is saying this way. Oh, I don't like the way the photographers are approaching me. Maybe he's have different intention. So, but what about the photographers who are actually coming out to do portrait photography, who's actually an
mm,
amateur and don't know how to approach models and don't know how to like ask them, hey, can you do a portrait, can you do a collab with me? And
mm.
some or most of the times these kind of photographers actually don't know how to speak. They come up giving a very bad vibe to these models. So what do you have to
Mm.
say for these photographers?
Okay, the first thing you need to do is brush up on your PR skills. You need to be able to communicate your objective as clearly and as simply as possible. Unfortunately, it's part of the game, so you can't just slide into someone's DMs and say, "Hey, let's shoot," and you
Yep.
don't have the photos to back it up. If you
Yep.
don't, and it's totally fine. And I need to be clear. There are a lot of very talented people there who do not have the portfolio but have a clear idea of what they have in mind. So if you do not have the portfolio, if you're just starting out, my I guess I had the advantage of learning how it was done in advertising. That way, I had a bit of structure when I would approach models. So you should always have a very clear creative objective, like what is the message, what is the story you're trying to tell. Second, how are you planning to bring it to life? That covers your logistics. So your shoot details, where, when, how are you going to shoot it. You need to be able to answer all of these questions to your model, such that the only thing that your model needs to do is say yes. Third, in terms of uh, look, mood, and tone, what what types of palettes are you going to capture, what poses, what styling, what wardrobe inspirations, what location inspirations. So put together mood boards and a few words that can best describe what you're trying to craft. And then lastly, when you're doing the shoot, as much as while it's always good to allow some room for creativity and spontaneity, you should always stick to what has been agreed. You can't go to an indoor. You can't invite a model to an indoor shoot. Fully agreeing that it's a very casual, casual indoor shoot, and then all of a sudden ask the model to strip naked or
Yeah.
to wear lingerie. That just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be fully on board with what is going to happen before, during, and after the shoot. Lastly, when you post photos, it's 2020. I share a very particular opinion that many of my established peers will not agree with. If the model, especially if it's a collaboration, if the model asks for her unedited photos, it's 2020. Just give the photos. It's fine.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a shoot that no one paid for. It's a mutual collaboration, X deal. No one
Yeah.
paid for anyone. Just give the photos. There's no harm in letting the model have the joy of seeing all of her photos, putting her own color edits, her own filters. It's fine. If people want to work with you and pay you as the photographer, they will look at your profile and how you show your portraits in your profile, not anyone else's.
True.
So yeah, I guess in a nutshell, those are the key things. Have a clear idea, have a plan, and stick to the plan before, during, and after the shoot.
So I mean, that's a good take on that, like giving a clear idea and the whole concept of it, and then approaching the model in a good way. But then what I encountered before as well, so probably you can have a take on this, is that sometimes more photographers will approach, but these photographers are very new. They don't have any photo, the photo Insta page. They don't have any photography account, and they want to get into people to collab with them. But most of the times, models will actually look at their page, and if they don't find any photo related content, they won't say yes
Mm.
to the photographer. So how can a photographer overcome this problem?
Mm. So start with people that you know. Start with people who believe in you. I started shooting portraits of my friends, my
Okay.
former college classmates, who I had history with, and uh, I knew in my heart could pose. They weren't models, but I knew that they could do it.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, again, I would go back to the first step, which is having a very clear plan. If you have a clear plan and you approach a friend or not necessarily someone but someone who you feel has the potential to be a model, as long as your idea is clear, then if the model would say yes to you, then great. If, for example, you do not have such a circle, and that's totally fine, start with your family, start with your mother, start with your sister, your brother. Because ideas are, while it's easier for models to bring to life an idea, if it's strong, if it's very clearly planned, will work beautifully regardless of the person you're photographing. So use your relatives as your proof of concept. That way, you can slowly build your portfolio. It's just a matter of, I would always say, a lot of it has to do with showmanship. It's about what you see. I wouldn't say fake it till you make it. It's all about being as genuine as possible in your portraits. If you do not have the network, tell the person you're approaching, I'm sorry, I don't have people I don't have enough subjects to bring this idea to life. But if you can trust me with this, I am confident that we can skyrocket. We can definitely work this out together. So it's just a matter of believing in your idea first, because no one else will. You have to believe it in here, and then approach someone who has a high likelihood of buying into your idea. Build the momentum from there. But also be realistic. Don't approach. If you're because in a very and follower driven world, unfortunately, these things matter a little bit. If you have, for example, 15 followers on Instagram, as much unless you have a personal relationship with that person, don't gun for someone who has 300,000 followers and slide into their DMs
True,
on
true,
Instagram.
true.
It's just not going to work that way. Build your base from the ground up. There's no shortcut to it. Just stack the bricks, but choose people wisely. Eventually, once you have that network, choose people who believe in you, who will bring forth your ideas and aren't just using you to to get a free shoot. or get a fully sponsored shoot. Unfortunately, in as you go deeper into the world of content creation, you may encounter certain personalities who are like that. So just be discerning of who you spend your time, your energy, your talent with.
All right, that's a good, very, very good answer. And I just want to share another way in how photographers can actually get, portraits and overcome that fear of asking and working on their PSK and just doing
Mm.
this one little little task lah. Like I don't know, will you be willing to do this if let's say you're an amateur photographer who's looking to start this? But this is
Mm.
how I actually started to like overcoming my fear of talking to people and getting more portraits done, and also working on my talking skills because believe it or not, when I was starting out, I was a very, very, very shy person. Like if let's say like 5 years ago, the 5 years ago means I wouldn't be talking to you like this. I would be super
Mm.
shy. I'll be like blabbering my whole words. So what I basically did was I went to Pasasani. If you know Pasasani. So
Yes, I know.
yeah, I went to Pasasani. So what I actually did, I just brought my friend along just for like giving me like the morality push lah, like giving me a confident boost. So I went around. I asked strangers for photos.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's a very good idea. It's just, it's almost as if you're just throwing yourself into the situation. And,
Yeah.
we as human beings, we're wired to adapt and to rise above situations of anxiety.
Yep.
Once you break through that anxiety wall, you can definitely do anything. So yes, that's a very good idea. Yeah, I've done it. I've done it before when I was way younger. Now, thankfully, I have the portfolio to back it up. But yes, similar to what you've done in the past, I would just walk up to someone who I felt would work with what I had in mind, and just I took it from there.
Yeah. So actually, that's one of the reasons why, if you checking out my YouTube channel, there's a segment called Strangers in Focus, where I just walk around in different cities and asking strangers for portraits. So that I keep on doing it because one reason is that I want to beat my anxiety of talking to new people, and I want to beat that, I want to overcome the fear of working with the new people. I don't know how to post them. I don't know how to talk to them. So this is in a way a training for me. So
Mm.
if let's say any photographers, okay, right at the moment, let's say if the MCO breaks down and you are still scared to contact through social media platform, and you're very scared of, just go out there, just shoot random people and then just talk to them. The worst case is they will just say no, and then of course you don't know them, so no harm done, right?
Yeah, correct, correct.
All right, so we have come to the end of this podcast session. Hope you guys enjoy it so far. So Don, before we move, before we end the podcast, so you have any words to say for the photographers who are actually watching this podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. But yes, these are very difficult times ahead, and it's not gonna. Hopefully, it will get better with time. But I think more than being a challenge, it's a great opportunity for us to show what we are made of as content creators. So whether you're alone and confined to a very tight space, or if you're with your families, know that we are all mutually linked by our mutual desire to create. You are a creator in your own way. So tap into that energy inside you. Understand that these are all just limits that you can break through from. And with a bit of planning and a bit of creativity, which I'm sure that you have as a creator, you can create. There's nothing that's stopping you. Look into yourself, look at your resources, see what you can put together, reach out to the people who are in the same situation as you are, and find a mutual common ground for you all to create something that is beautiful in the time of adversity. And that's just one thing that makes us human. Our darkest hours, our darkest nights are often followed by our finest hours. So
True.
keep on pushing, keep on creating, and we are with you every step of the way.
All right, so that's been Don from Happy Fingers, and if you guys want to check out his content, I'll put a link in the description. Happy Fingers, Happy Travels, Happy Jump Ropes. So, oh yeah, before we end, right? How's your jump rope going? I've been following you in TikTok. I've been following you in Instagram. How's your jump rope thing going on?
It's been going well. I've been focusing on soft skills for now. So, meaning skills that don't require physical activity. So I've been I've been reaching out to my community, my followers, when it comes to strengthening your mental game, because it's easy to get intimidated when you're starting out in the jump rope journey,
Yep.
right? I'm just trying to help them realize that it's a journey, not a race. So you just take things at your own pace and grow from there. I'm also building my own ropes. It's also good mental therapy for 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 getting confined in a space. Again, you find creativity in different outlets, not just the photography space. So yeah, I just finished building 3 ropes earlier. So I'm really
Wow.
excited to see how that turns out when I actually pick them out for a spin.
Cool. So if you guys like, I know he also posts like tips and how to do like jump ropes. So if you guys are interested in doing jump ropes, you can just check him out. I will definitely link that in the description. And as always, guys, we want to check out more content in this channel. I'll be posting out more content about videography and how you can make money on it, and as well as forecasting with some of the few people in the industry who's actually making it big time. And as always, guys, go out there, discover, connect, and inspire. And I'll see you guys in the